Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. You know we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful February 26, 2019. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
I had a very interesting, thankful day today, or thoughtful, however you want to say that. You know, the president come out last night and wanting to call somebody black a racist, you know, which bothered me most of the evening after hearing this statement. He wanted to attack Academy Award winner Spike Lee, saying that he was racist. Now, I guess because of his portrayal of his buddy David Duke, the Klansman, in the movie White Klansman, that the president wants to tweet out. I mean, here's a guy that's dealing with multiple issues in America, and a lot of them are racially involved, Charlton. You know, we're dealing with the economics. We dealt with a government shutdown recently, and here it is. He wants to attack a black Academy Award winner, calling him racist because he gave a speech after receiving the award. He never mentioned the president's name, but he said he was attacking the president in his speech by what he had said. You know, here's a guy who is speaking to the masses about entertainment, how entertainment works, and what you need to do as far as your involvement. But the president has taken every opportunity that he has had since he's been in office to attack black Americans, Charlton. You know, he attacked the NFL players, saying 5 SOBs, kick them out of the country. And now he wants to attack black entertainment, saying that they're racist. And here it is. This is a man who has spewed racism ever since he's been in the office. Spike Lee is in one of the more proud moments of his life, Charlton, and giving recognition and praise not to himself, but to others, Charlton, inspiring and encouraging others. And yet we have the leader of this country coming out with a racial rant on Twitter about this prominent black man, Charlton. And so I don't understand where America is. I mean, because this resonates over in the sports, it resonates in politics, it resonates in entertainment. And when we have that type of hatred coming from the leader of our country, Charlton, you know, what is America? I mean, if you stand behind this man and everything that he stands for, that means that you're a racist. You don't have to state it. You just, by backing him, whether you're Congress, whether you're the Senate, Charlton, whether you're a governor, whether you're just a layman citizen, Charlton, when you back this man with his vitriol of racism and hatred in America, that means that's what you are. And I don't understand how people in sports, in politics, and just everyday life stand for that every day, unless you're just a blatant racist like he is.
Well, I think sometimes what we think is offensive to other people is just part of how people live. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. You know, everybody has their opinion about certain things, and whether you're pro or con about POTUS or people's opinions, that's always going to be a part of American fabric that people can agree and disagree. But at the same time, you just got to vote with your consciousness. If your vote's not obstructed, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, your consciousness is what I mean. If your conscience is racist, then that's what you're voting for. But, you know, as I look for this man, you know, who should be trying to bring this country together in every facet, Charlton, in every action that he's done. But every action that he has done has been divisive in this country. You want to call Nazis, Ku Klux Klan members, white supremacists, good people in this country, Charlton. You want to revel about the rebel flag, Charlton, and say those people are good Americans, and yet they fought against what America stands for, Charlton. They wanted to eliminate the Union. But, you know, voting, I understand that voting is a very enable act from all people, Charlton. But it's been proven 2 out of the last 3 elections, presidential elections, Charlton, where Republicans have won the White House, that the popular vote doesn't matter.
Yeah.
When President Bush was elected, he lost the populist vote, Charlton. When President Trump was elected, he lost the populist vote.
Yeah.
So it becomes very disparaging to the layman person, Charlton, when they say, my vote doesn't matter. And you don't realize how much that resonates when people say, we go out and vote for the person that we want to be president, but the electoral college, which is outdated, Charlton, as far as how society stands today.
Yeah.
They didn't expect states like California to have the population that they had. They didn't expect states like Texas to have the population that they had. Matter of fact, they weren't even in existence, Charlton. Washington was not in existence.
Yeah.
When we look at these massive populated states, we look at Florida, we look at Michigan, Ohio, they were not in existence, Charlton, when the Constitution was written.
Yeah.
So when those things came into play, and that Wyoming can have as much representation as California can, Charlton, when it comes to the Electoral College, and they don't have 1 million people.
Yeah.
So, when we think about, you go target a couple states, Charlton, and you can win.
Yeah.
The population doesn't matter. You just need the electoral vote.
I think at some point in time, as people of color, we gotta quit thinking that being called a bigot is offensive to many mainstream. I mean, it's been proven time and time again, from Governor Wallace to the stuff we have going on now. I don't think people care if they're bigoted. They just care about smiling in your face. But we all know you still got to vote whether you believe it or not. I also want to just get on the thought real quick. And there's some things that about business in California. And I'm not even going to say the industry. But 77% of the citizens that have been incarcerated for an industry, 77% compared to 4% of people who make up an ethnic group. 77 to 4. And they both make up 30% of that city's population. There's a lot of things that go on in this country where we keep thinking that race or being called a bigot is offensive. It's not. You can call it what you want to call it, but the way people practice the law and adjudicate the law, it tells you how people really feel. So a lot of it's just grandstanding. Oh my God, someone said a bad word. I'm offended by racism. I think this country was advanced based on racism. And the mainstream that benefited from it, they don't care what we think. They just care that they got the money and the power, and we can play all the sports we want to play, but we still got to vote because that's the only thing that makes a change. I want to touch on something in the NBA because it's so silly, but I think the NBA did something right. They had an incident in Charlotte. Remember Charlotte had the NBA All-Star game taken away a couple of years ago? And they corrected
over the bathroom law.
Over the bathroom law. And they corrected that, so they got the All-Star game back this year. So again, in Charlotte, North Carolina, we had Boogie Cousins from the Golden State Warriors picked up his shoe off the court because, again, he just tore his Achilles. And anyone can step on it and be injured. Because we saw the kid Zion Williamson for the Duke Blue Devils. He didn't step on anything, but his shoe came apart, and he sprained his knee. So in the game, they called a technical foul on Boogie Cousins for trying to get an object off of the floor that could have injured a player. A guy making $100 million, you don't want his knee torn because he stepped on a shoe that he didn't see. The NBA did the right thing, though. Unlike the NFL, the NBA came back and took away the technical. Now, how could that be applied to what happened down in the Superdome where we saw the egregious play that sent the Rams onto the Super Bowl, or let me say prevented the Saints from going? They made it right, Big C. What could the NFL learn from that? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the good thing about that is that technical had nothing to do with the outcome of the game.
Yeah.
Now, that would have been a different story if that technical had something to do with the outcome of the game, and the game had it went the other way, and Charlotte would have beaten Golden State.
Yeah.
So it made it easy for the NBA to step back and rescind the technical foul, because technical fouls, you get so many and you're suspended.
Exactly.
Not only that, you're fined for a technical foul in the NBA.
Yeah.
So as far as that move, Charlton, I think as far as Adam Silver in the league's office rescinding the technical, the big part about that, the reason why they rescinded it, Charlton, because the rules are that you cannot throw an object off the court into the stand.
Yeah.
That's in the rule book. But the reason why they rescinded that technical, Charlton, was because it did not interfere with the outcome of the game.
Yeah.
Now, if that technical had been the point differential in the game, they would not have rescinded that. So it was a good faith issue done by the NBA, but it was also backhanded, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because The technical was served during the game, which offered the flow of the game.
Yeah.
But it did not determine the outcome of the game. Whereas in the NFL game, Charlton, we saw that it did help determine the outcome of the game, even though there were many other plays before and after that incident, Charlton.
Yeah.
And even today, the NFL came out and stated that there's not much momentum in them changing the replay rule from what it exists now. Because what happens when you start going in trying to change rules on the fly because of emotion of a moment, Charlton?
Yeah.
You're altering an entire league is what you're doing, not just the one game as we saw, but at any point that you want to sit down and say, okay, let's start looking at plays.
Yeah.
I played football, Charlton. I got held on every play, unless I was on the sideline.
Yeah.
That's the only time I wasn't getting held.
Yeah.
But offensive linemen, you think you're on a date because they got their hands
They're holding
on you all the time.
slow dancing.
They hugging up on you. And so, at what point, if you're talking about replay and challenging penalties, Charlton, do you alter the game? We know the game is going to be altered from gambling coming up this next season because it's open in every state.
Yeah.
So what's the point? Okay, I want to challenge. That was a holding call. I want to challenge that. I think that was an illegal block. It's going to go and go and go if you start altering the game, Charlton, as far as penalties and reviews. How long will an NFL game go? Now it's going to be extended to 3.5 hours, if not 4 hours, Charlton. That's what's happened when you start having too many incidents of stopping time in a game.
Yeah.
What's the line? What's the line in the sand or the hash marks that you're going to have to cross to stop changing these rules?
Yeah, we'll always have to balance. It's always a balancing act, BC, because you can never please everybody. Even with a slice of pizza, somebody says, well, it's too much cheese on this pizza. It's just a pizza, for Christ's sake. But we understand it's about trying to find fairness. James Harden, his comeback last night in a win against the Atlanta Hawks, and for the second consecutive game, he didn't have 30 points. He had 28, but he was 0 of 10 on threes, or 0 of 9 on three-point baskets. That's his fault. Sometimes drive to the basket. At the same time, you think about that streak that ended because he didn't play, and then coming back, maybe took his focus off. But it's bizarre how he's unstoppable for 32 games, sits out a game for whatever reason, and then comes back and can't quite. That shows people how difficult it is to get the 30 big seed every night in the NBA. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I look at the 0 for 10 that he went from three-point range last night, but also that game that he missed, Charlton, was because of a shoulder and a neck injury.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that might have affected his long-range shooting. When he wanted to drive to the basket, he was unstoppable, Charlton.
Yeah.
But he also had the ball in his hands the last 7 seconds of the basketball game, and all 5 Atlanta Hawks charged him, and he chose not to get a shot off, Charlton.
Yeah.
He could have attempted a shot as he had done several games back to get to his 30, but he didn't, Charlton. I think James Harden realized in the game that he set out is that as long as the Houston Rockets have balance, Charlton, they're a much better team.
Yeah, they
and
are.
He doesn't need all the spotlight on him every night. It was great to see him chasing the record of Wilkes.
Yep.
But the thing is, you're chasing for playoff positioning and a championship, Charlton. And it's a team game in the NBA.
Yeah.
And the Rockets need that balance. You think about the game that he missed in Golden State, and Chris Paul had 17 assists in that game.
Amazing.
And they beat Golden State.
Yeah.
That's what you look for in the Rockets. You're needing balance in offense. They had it last night in Atlanta.
Yep.
And they came out with a victory without him scoring 30, Charlton.
Yeah, and again, it was Atlanta, Big C. It's not like they were beating the Celtics, but I understand Atlanta has a great stadium down there. They're going to have to build that program back. But now you look at the guys with the best streaks going. You look at Russell Westbrook with 3 games, Bradley Beal with 2 games. So NBA action is so fantastic, and it feels like we're already in playoff mode. I know people are saying we got 20-plus games to go, but almost every game has a twist to it that determines who's going to get the number 1 seed or the number 8 seed in both East and West Conference Big C. The Warriors last night with a big win over the Hornets. Last night, Boogie Cousins 24 points. They're now 12-1 in the last 13 road games after starting 8-8 on the road. I want to get your thoughts. you know how people were saying when Cousins was out that he may or may not be a factor for this Golden State Warriors team? I think the biggest factor that he's been is Draymond Green is no longer the attitude guy. I know people want to say, oh, Draymond brings attitude. But Cousins brings an attitude and a size intimidation force than you have in Draymond Green. Plus, he can shoot better than Draymond Green. Imagine having Draymond Green being your second best enforcer on the team when it comes to setting the tone, and tone is everything in a basketball game. Basically, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when I look at the Warriors right now, physically, they remind me of the old Detroit Pistons bad boys.
Yeah.
When you had Dennis Rodman, a la Draymond Green.
Yeah.
You look at Boogie Cousins, and that's Bill Laimbeer.
Yeah.
You look at Isaiah Thomas, Steph Curry. You look at John Sally, and that's Durant.
Yeah.
When you look at Joe Dumars, and that's Klay Thompson. You have a toughness and a balance now with this team.
Yeah.
You talk about Cousins scoring 24 points last night. Durant and Curry combined for 36.
Yeah.
So the pressure is not on them.
Yeah.
You had Klay Thompson knock down 26, Charlton.
Yeah.
So when you look at the balance that this team can bring to a game now, Charlton, they don't just have to play small ball, Charlton. They were a tough matchup when they played small ball.
Yeah.
They're in an even tougher matchup now, Charlton, with Cousins in the lineup, because you have a big man that generally can't be covered by another big man.
No, he can't.
When you put him in the lineup and you have someone playing with a big man, Charlton,
yeah,
he can take him out of the middle, so you have no one protecting the rim now.
Yeah.
That's what Cousins allows you to do. When you can put everybody on the perimeter, he can shoot a three just like anybody else in the lineup.
Yeah.
That's the balance of a lineup, Charlton, that's hard to match up in the NBA, because you go find another team with a big man other than Davis, who is not going to play that much the rest of the year for New Orleans.
Yeah.
And the NBA should be finding New Orleans every week for that factor, Charlton, because they're not going to discount tickets.
No.
Because you got the best player out of the lineup.
Yeah. Well.
And so when I look at this balance that Steve Kerr has put together with management in Golden State.
Yeah.
This is a team, Charlton. If they want to just win, Charlton, and accept the money of being millionaires in the NBA and not looking at max money because they make money off the court.
Yeah.
This is a team that can be good for the next 3 to 4 years, Charlton.
Yeah, 3 to 4 years. And when you think about the fact that you have Durant up next year and also Cousins and then Thompson. Who doesn't want to play at a new arena? I know they could get max money going elsewhere. But there are guys who make so much money with shoe contracts that they make more money than some players who don't have a big shoe contract, but they have a big contract for their team. If they keep something you said last week, it's about saying who has more trophies. In the NFL, Tom Brady has more than Montana. He has more than Manning. And people talk about he has more than Elway, more than Brett Favre, more than Roethlisberger, more than Roger Staubach, more than Terry Bradshaw. Well, if you have this unit of the Golden State Warriors, once your playing days are over, they're over. But could you imagine going into the Chase Center? Now, of course, they got to win this year, of course, based on if they win this year. That'll be a three-peat. Jordan never had 4 consecutive years of winning because he had to set out for whatever reason. I guess he wanted to play baseball more than he wanted to play basketball, his favorite sport of all time. But if you imagine going with this unit, and they haven't even played together for a year, Big C, contract aside, because they're all wealthy, you could go on a run, and they're not going to challenge the Boston Celtics, but this build of a team, that's a team that could really run off being in the finals the next 5 years in a row if they just keep who they have now, maybe make an addition. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you look at the NBA, owners are willing to pay a luxury tax.
Yeah.
I'm a billionaire owner, Charlton, and I have to pay a luxury tax. It's no big deal.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Because what means more than anything in sports, the only thing is winning.
Winning.
It's about winning. Everybody keeps... I love to talk on all the talk shows when they talk about, hey, they're going to the Knicks. They're going to the Knicks.
For what?
Nobody cares about New York. Everybody flies on a private plane, Charlton.
Well, wait, Jay-Z cares about...
Everybody lives in a high-rise or some state, in some gated community, Charlton.
Yeah.
They don't care about New York any longer. New York does not have the appeal that it had 40 years ago, Charlton. It doesn't.
No.
It's no longer the Mecca. You know, Rutgers Park is no longer the Mecca of outdoors basketball, Charlton. So when you think about all the ambitious people who think about New York, wanting to sell New York, there's no winning teams in New York, Charlton. Not even the Yankees. They haven't won a World Series in a little while, okay?
Yeah.
The New York Mets have been in the doldrums since '86.
Yeah.
You know, the Nets mean nothing. The Knicks mean nothing. The Giants are irrelevant.
Yeah.
The Jets are irrelevant. What's the attraction of New York? And you talk about the Chase Center.
Yeah.
You think if the Warriors are fortunate enough, Charlton, to win the championship this year, that's 3 consecutive championships.
Yeah.
Okay? 4 of the last 5.
Yeah.
4 of the last 5. And then you're moving into a new arena. Now, if they spent $2 billion on the Chase Center, Charlton, I don't think the owners mind paying $100 million in luxury
You don't think
tax.
so? No.
Okay?
No.
They'll pay that $100 million in luxury tax, Charlton. They will find a way, as the Blues Brothers say, to keep the band together.
Keep the band together.
That's what they will do. They will keep the band together, Charlton.
Yeah. Yeah.
An opportunity for a 4-peat in the NBA has not been done since the Boston Celtics.
The Boston Celtics back in the
You're
day.
moving
Yep.
yourself into rarefied air.
Yeah.
You move yourself past any legacy. The Lakers, the Heat, you know, the Bulls. You move past all that.
San
Now
Antonio.
you're relevant in history,
Yeah.
Charlton.
Yeah.
And what do all athletes ever want is a legacy and to be part of history.
Yep. I
Every
agree.
athlete strives for that. Because you think about the guys at the end of the bench in Golden State, Charlton, yes, they happen to be there. They're not talking about, I need a pay increase.
Right.
They happen to be there. The most memorable thing that any athlete can have is a championship ring.
Yep.
I mean, the Hall of Fame is a wonderful place to be because you're immortalized once you get to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And that's an elite group of the elite group, Charlton.
Yep.
But every Hall of Famer will tell you, and they'll all say, they've been immortalized by being in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
But that one thing that pains them more than anything is that they did not get that championship ring. Because when you look at players, Charlton, in the latter part of their career and they start moving teams, chasing that ring, Charles Barkley, one of the greatest of all time, he went from Philadelphia to Phoenix, from Phoenix to Houston. He seemed to be a year late every place he went, Charlton,
Yeah.
chasing a championship ring. If he was happy just with his career, he would have never left Philadelphia.
Yep.
But he left there to get a championship ring. When Shaq left Orlando, Charlton,
Yeah.
he went to L.A. to get a championship ring.
Yep.
He didn't go there just to hang out.
I heard he went there.
LeBron
I heard he went for
went to
Randy's
Miami.
Donuts. Yeah.
LeBron went to Miami
Yeah.
to get a championship ring.
Yeah.
He came back to Cleveland and got one there also. But he went to Miami to get a championship ring, Charlton. It wasn't just going down hanging out on South Beach.
Not well. That could be some of that's true, Dixie. But I understand your point. You think about if the Golden State Warriors group, which are billionaires, like you said, and when you're it's like how much more air do you need? Look at Dan Gilbert. He is the majority owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers. And that was a team that had been in the finals, the last 3 years, Big C? They've been in the finals last 3 years, and they let something happen. Now, he's a billionaire, too. But he doesn't have what the billionaire owners have in Oakland right now, soon to be San Francisco. He doesn't have the same players that got him to be the topic of conversation every year during the NBA finals over the last 3 years, simply because they didn't have LeBron James there. So why? Now, you think he would trade having a little bit less money by paying a luxury tax for having LeBron James? And if they had, let's just say for numbers' sake, if they had made a way to get LeBron James and Kevin Durant and maybe another star player or two to compete for Eastern Conference championships for the next 5 years, I think that would be more valuable to him and their fan base than, I got to pay a luxury tax. And that's what Golden State would be looking at if they don't find a way to keep this chase of the Boston Celtics legacy. They already tied what the Bulls have done. They've tied what the Lakers have done. But think about them being, if they let go of these great players, if they get rid of Durant and Boogie Cousins and Thompson, now they're in the same boat that Cleveland Cavaliers are in. Yeah, you're already a billionaire, but is it relevant anymore when you're not the topic of conversation, Big C? Your thoughts?
No, it's not relevant in sports, Charlton. When you think about all the teams in the NBA, There's a dozen teams in the NBA you never hear about every night, other than to hear their final score, Charlton. There's never any talk about them as far as dispensing players, Charlton, or who's the superstar on their team. The Golden State Warriors, Charlton, for the last 5 years in the NBA have been relevant every day of the league.
Every day.
And even in the offseason.
Yep.
They've been relevant.
Yep.
That speaks volumes, Charlton, when you're talking about having championship pedigree. No one talks about the Memphis Grizzlies, Charlton, unless they're about to make a trade.
Yeah.
The only reason they do talk about the New York Knicks is because they're irrelevant and they've had 15 losing seasons, Charlton, that made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Think about it. The New York Knicks is the best team in that town.
Yeah.
And no one talks about them, Charlton.
Yeah.
They're going to be in the playoffs. And everybody keeps crying about the Knicks, you know. The Orlando Magic, no one's really talked about them, Charlton, since Shaq has left.
Yeah.
They had a brief stint with Dwight Howard, but since Shaq has left the Orlando Magic, Charlton, they have not been relevant.
No.
And so you think of all the talk in Los Angeles about the Lakers, and yet the Clippers are the better team in the town.
Better team, yeah.
You know, you look at Sacramento, an up-and-coming team, Charlton, they don't get much love.
No.
You know, and they're in a playoff position right now.
Yeah.
Think about Utah. Does anybody talk about Utah? And they're the second-best team in the West.
Yeah.
Think about if L.A. was the second-best team in the West, Charlton. It would be nothing but roses every night for L.A., but Utah is the second-best team in the Western Division in the NBA, and you hear nothing about it. Milwaukee's the best team in the East. And Los Angeles gets talked about more than Milwaukee, and Boston gets talked about more than Milwaukee, yet Milwaukee is the best team in the East.
Yeah.
So it's about the market. Charlotte, no one's heard about Charlotte other than the All-Star game.
Yeah.
When was the last time we heard about the Washington Wizards, Charlton? You know, in the nation's capital. We haven't.
Get knocked out of playoff
John Wall
games.
went down. We haven't heard anything about them, Charlton.
Yeah, that's the truth. Now, I want to ask your thoughts, though, because ironically, you must know some people in Vegas. I know some people you must know.
Hey.
I'm
Look,
just saying.
My personal life, I do not like to put on the airwaves. Because
I'm saying it could have been somebody from a school teacher or whatever. But if you think about last night, the Lakers, they lost a game that they could not afford to lose. But you talked about how they were, I think, 0 for 6 in certain situations going into that game. And
on road games against the spread.
Against the spread. I don't know why the spread keeps coming up. I tell you, somebody someplace, Big C. They lose 110-105. LeBron James had a 79th career triple-double. And Memphis snapped a 4-game losing streak. Now, at some point in time, I think LeBron James, as much money as he has, allegedly a billionaire, I don't know, I didn't count all those nickels and dimes, Big C. But do you think, with what's going on right now in L.A., that he would rather be in L.A. to do whatever business he's doing? Or would he rather have a championship chance this year? I know people say he's in L.A. to make movies. He's in L.A. to become a movie star. How much more oxygen do you need? But I think he would be happier if some of the things they wanted to make happen would have happened, but they fell apart because they verbalized it instead of getting the deals done. And now the Lakers are really sliding down that slippery slope of the playoff abyss. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, so let's start it with this. They're now 0-7 versus the spread in their last 4 road games.
I thought you know somebody. Yeah.
Let's get that out of
I don't even know what a spread is, because I thought a spread was like a place you live, you know?
Okay. Now, remember last year when he was in Cleveland, they made a trade late in the season, Charlton.
Yeah.
They brought in 4 new players.
Yep.
You remember what I told you about those players, Charlton? They brought in a bunch of fans that were losers that were happy to be on the team with LeBron.
Yep.
That same thing transcended, Charlton. He signed with the Lakers.
Yeah.
He had 11 guys that were losers.
Yeah.
They were happy to be on the team with LeBron.
Yeah.
And were fans and watching him play. Not only that, Charlton, they knew that they had to lose the momentum that they had, which they were not winners anyway, of development.
Yeah.
They had to let somebody else take over control of the team. They had a lot of inner bickering, Charlton, with the Lakers last year about who was the leader.
Yeah.
You remember when they drafted the ball kid? His dad talking about it, and Magic said, we're going to hang your jersey in the rafters.
Yeah.
He couldn't even stay on the court, Charlton.
Yeah.
All right? Kuzma ended up being their top player, Charlton, last year. And he wasn't even their first overall pick. Brandon Ingram, who was the number 1 pick the year before, had an attitude problem because Charlton, they drafted 2 more guys after him the following year that had a bigger role in the lineup than what he did.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden you bring in the King. And all these little kids who've been in awe of the King, you know, his entire professional career, Charlton. Oh, I'm with LeBron.
Yeah.
And now my role is lessened because now the kid who was the point guard is no longer the point guard, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because they bring in Rondo. So Rondo has the balance being the point guard with the King.
Yeah. Yeah.
You bring in Lance Stevens, the Grizzly veteran with an attitude. He's going to talk a lot of smack to the young boys.
Yeah.
They get a little butthurt, Charlton.
Yep.
and so they're bothered.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden this trade rumor comes up. All these guys, like, I bought a house in Los Angeles, but, you know, I'm used to going to the beach. I'm used to hanging out in Beverly Hills and Brentwood.
Yeah.
I got to go hang out in New Orleans now. I got to be on Beale Street, and, you know, downtown.
Yeah.
You know, this is what they didn't know how to handle that from a maturity perspective. So this is a business.
Yeah.
Guys get traded all the time.
All the time.
And these guys are still sitting around hurt because they are all tossed up in the news about being traded.
Yeah.
I mean, think if they were in the position that Bryce Harper's in right now, Charlton, and nobody would sign you.
Who's Bryce Harper?
Just sitting out there without a job.
He doesn't. Bryce Harper has a bad calculator. He didn't know how much $300 million is, Big C. That's all that is.
But Charlton, they have jobs.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be professionals. And I said last year when LeBron was going to the Lakers, it's like all he was doing was to go play with a bunch of fans that were losers.
Yeah.
And I don't know why people thought all of a sudden because LeBron came in, that was going to be a 25-game difference. That might be all they win is 25 games, you know, because the guys that he had playing with, they were not winners. And that's what people in professional sports, that watch professional sports,
Yeah.
don't understand.
Yep.
You have to be a winner to want to win. I got traded to a team one time, Charlton, and all these guys knew how to do was lose.
Yeah.
When I showed up. That was it.
Yep.
I talked about everybody on the team every day. I challenged them every day. A couple years later, we win it all.
Yeah.
Okay? But they were losers. And they were comfortable with being losers, Charlton, because they knew every year they were going to come in, they were going to get paid, they weren't going to make the playoffs, they weren't going to win a championship.
Yeah.
They had grown accustomed to that. And that's what L.A. has been, Charlton, since they won their last championship.
Yeah.
They sit around with Kobe. Kobe beat everybody down.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to challenge Kobe. And so then when LeBron comes in, Charlton, the same thing over and over. You had a defeatist attitude when LeBron showed up because Kobe had put everybody in that position in that organization, Charlton. LeBron didn't create this.
No.
This is just a continuum of where Kobe left off.
Yeah, they could really learn to clean house in L.A. And if you're going to make moves, you know, you make those moves in private. You don't announce it to the public, and then it blows up on you.
But Charlton, who announced it to the public?
Yeah.
Did Rich Paul hold a press conference? Did LeBron James hold a press conference? Or was that all the talk for pundits on TV? Was that all the talking heads? Every day, that's all you heard. This was going to happen. This was going to happen. I never saw LeBron James hold a press conference.
No.
I never saw Rich Paul hold a press conference. But now, Charlton, everybody wants to say that LeBron James and Rich Paul was the problem because they were holding press conferences every day saying that the Lakers were going to give up everybody for Anthony Davis.
Or Paul George. I kept hearing that all the time, but now they don't say that anymore. They don't say that they were wrong, but they said it. I want to go up north real quick. It was freezing cold last night. Talking about a playoff chase. Sacramento Kings fall 112 to 105 to the Big Cat. And that's a game where Minnesota, they were 20-10 at home. The Kings coming off some road games, some close games, and that's a chance for them to climb the ladder. But the Lakers lost. San Antonio got blown out in Brooklyn. So it didn't really matter that they lost because they really didn't lose ground, but it would have really helped a young team. I can't keep saying they're young because they're all old enough to buy a libation, but it would have really helped them turning things around. But I just want to get one thought on something. I know he's not a player that a lot of people know around the country, but he was well known in college. Buddy Hield, who I thought would have been an all-star player this year, just based on how he plays. He's had some 30-point games this year as well. He was off the court maybe the last 4 minutes of the game, but he's a scoring guy. So whether it's Buddy Hield or anybody else, that would be like Minnesota taking the Big Cat off the floor. because he's a scorer. You need guys that can score. If you take your shooters off the floor, what are you trying to do? It's as if some coaches, and this is what makes me cynical, Big C, some coaches, and of course they make their millions, but if a fan can see that your best player is sitting on the sideline next to you, as opposed to being in the game, a.k.a. Reggie Bush, Pete Carroll back in the day, beast mode on the goal line, and you don't trust them to get a yard, all those little things, why do coaches take their scores out of the game when they just a one-possession game, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, before they had Trae Young at Oklahoma, there was Buddy Hield, Charleston. Buddy Hield was college basketball player of the year. And leading scorer in the country when he was at Oklahoma, #1 draft pick.
Yep.
This guy, Charleston, has always been a scorer. And his game has responded in the NBA just like he was in college.
Yep.
He's been a dominant offensive presence. You got a coach that keeps him out of the lineup, Charleston. Also understand, who has the final seed in that West, Charleston?
The Lakers, bro.
No, Sacramento.
Yeah.
Sacramento's the 8th seed.
Yep.
You can't keep getting separation between you and the Lakers, Charleston.
Yeah.
That's what you got to understand. You spoke about Vegas, and I know you know somebody there.
No, somebody, a bird told me.
Even before I got, you brought it up, Charleston, so I don't want to be hearing about
I'm just saying.
Going on, okay? I talked about a spread. You talking about sitting the guy down. That's a totally different neighborhood, okay? All right, so your contacts are mine are two different people.
Randy's Donuts, yep.
You know, if the SEC is listening.
I understand.
Okay? But when you think about that, Charleston,
yeah,
we talk about this time and time
all the
again.
time. Yep.
You know, basketball, all professional sports, Charleston, is about money.
Yeah.
It's about having
Big
the
money.
right team in there to play.
Yeah.
Sacramento, if they win, it's a 4-game difference between them and the Lakers. The Lakers lose, Sacramento's got to lose.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
The
And
Lakers played first, though. They played before Sacramento did. Okay?
Yeah.
So that score was already in. So you got to make sure that you stay within striking distance.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Lakers still have to win at least 18 games, Charleston, to make it into the playoffs.
Yeah.
17, 18 games.
Yep. I
At one
noticed.
point, that's got to kick in. If they can win 17 games, Charleston,
Yeah.
Sacramento loses 10 games, who's in the playoffs? The Lakers.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, that's a lot of.
Understand what you said at the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, Vegas, you know somebody in Vegas. I don't want to know those people.
I do
But
want to.
you got to
Yeah.
understand, a certain team has to win a certain amount of games.
Yeah.
Another team has to lose a certain amount of games.
Yep.
All right?
Yep.
Everybody in Vegas is happy.
Everybody's happy, Big C. Sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Benemark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports, whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer league. When you reach out to them, let them know Big C sent you. I look at tonight's matchup, a really light schedule NBA. Orlando's at New York. Boston's at Toronto. It's the game of the night. Oklahoma City at Denver. That's also maybe the second best game of the night. Two teams on the road in a hostile environment. Gonna get your thoughts on Boston at Toronto. It would appear to be a game that Toronto could win, but also a game that could go maybe a 1 or 2 possession game at the end. And then Oklahoma City going into Denver, which is challenging Golden State for that top 2 spot in the Western Conference. I think OKC's a better team, but you never know. It's always 1 or 2 possession, Big C. And I'm sure both of these teams will, unlike Sacramento at Minnesota last night, have their best players on the court in the last 2 minutes. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, when you think about that Denver OKC game, Charleston, that's the number 2 and the number 3 seed in the West.
Yeah.
And Denver, like I said, has had a surprising season, Charleston. No one knows who they are. It's just they're winning.
Yeah.
And they're going to be a tough out when it comes to the playoffs, Charleston. Whoever that number 7 seed is in the West is not going to want to see Denver because that may be a 5-game series and Denver eliminates them.
Yeah.
But when you look at Toronto and Boston, Charleston.
Yeah.
These were the 1 and 2 teams in the East last year, Charleston.
Yeah.
And now they're the number 2 and the number 4 teams
Yeah.
in the East right now. Toronto's on pace to break their franchise record for wins, Charleston, which was 59 last year. Boston has not developed into the team that everybody thought they would be coming into the season.
Yeah.
You thought after making the Eastern Finals last year that Boston would be a team on the verge of getting back to the NBA Finals with LeBron James being gone out of the East, Charlton.
Yeah.
But that hasn't materialized for this organization. They have struggled with Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving, Charlton, in the lineup.
Yeah, sometimes the attitude, you just got to find the right fit, just like any relationship. If you don't have the right fit, then things can go awry. I want to just touch on something with in Northern California. It's important for Northern California. Oakland Raiders, not that it matters to everybody, but at least it matters to the Coliseum. It's the vendors around the Coliseum that I'm happy for. Whether the Raiders come or go, if someone wants to leave, let them leave. But they signed an agreement finally after many, months of speculation. They will be playing at the Coliseum at least next year. So hopefully that keeps a lot of people who counted that money, coming in. That's a big thing for them. But I want to jump into the world of Major League Baseball, Big C. Bryce Harper is still unsigned, as we know. 7th in the NL in home runs at 34 and 8th in RBIs, 100 for a 49th batting. He's batted in 249. You would think a guy that can turn down $300 million could at least bat 300. But he bats 249. And something about Harper and his agent thinks that's worth more than $300 million. Your thoughts?
Well, Scott Boras is the agent, Charlton, and I don't even know if it's much about Bryce Harper as it is about the media.
Yeah.
The revel over Bryce Harper, Charlton, over the past couple of years. He's a guy who has not completed the last 2 seasons in Major League Baseball because of injuries.
Yeah.
Last year he had an abysmal start to the season, Charlton. He ended up batting a paltry 249.
Yeah.
Not even batting, enough to get into the top 20 in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
In home runs, he was okay at 7th place, Charlton. But you expect more from that from an alleged superstar in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
I look at the signings that have occurred in Major League Baseball, Charlton. Bryce Harper, I think, would be lucky to get a 2 to 3 year deal from any major league club, Charlton. I don't see anybody extending themselves out there for 10 years with Bryce Harper, Charlton, because of his injury past in Major League Baseball. And until he can prove a point, Charlton, that he can get a team over the hump, get you into the National League Finals or American League Finals, Charlton, whichever league he chooses, and challenge for a World Series title, Charlton, I don't see the money being there for Bryce Harper, because when I look at the signings that have occurred in Major League Baseball, Charlton, all of those players have had better offensive numbers.
Yeah.
They've been Golden Glove winners, Charlton. They have playoff experience. Bryce Harper does not have that.
He doesn't have that. You think of Nolan Arenado finalized his contract with the Colorado Rockies, 8-year, $260 million. That's a lot of money. He has 8 Golden Gloves, more than Harper. He's a shortstop. And he bats 297. He's a guy that bats 297. Harper bats 249. And Nolan took $260 million. That's a lot of money. And his batting average is almost 40% higher than Harper, who turned down $300 million. Your thoughts?
And Charlton, he also hit 40 home runs last year, so they exceeded Harper's offensive production.
Yeah.
When you think about this, you have a guy who's won Golden Gloves, Charlton.
8 times.
He's getting his team into the playoffs. And everybody said, well, he's playing in Colorado. Well, Bryce Harper could go sign with the Rockies if he wants to play in Colorado.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not turning players away, Charlton.
No.
But he's been consistent. When you're winning consecutive Golden Gloves, Charlton, you're a surefire infielder, Charlton, which is a tough position to play. Bryce Harper's in the outfield.
Yeah.
So his opportunities at balls defensively, Charlton, are not as frequent.
Yeah.
But when you think about the Rockies making this move, and he's going to make $32 million a year off of that contract, Charlton.
Yeah.
But he has an opt-out option, Charlton, after 3 years. So he can opt out of that contract if he's not happy. Well, I don't know why he wouldn't be happy at $32 million a year. I'm trying to figure out maybe he needs to get on a Rolaids commercial, Charlton, for that stomach or something.
Rolaids for your relief pitchers, right?
Yes. But this is what Bryce Harper is going to have to look at now, Charlton. Is these 2 big contracts that have been signed in the last week. Am I worthy of that? Scott Boras has to be realistic as an agent, Charlton. It's like, if baseball has become such an analytical game, Charlton, everybody wants to look at the analytics.
Yeah.
That's where the contracts are coming now, Charlton. How do the numbers equate?
How do you justify
across the board?
You can't.
Bryce Harper doesn't rate well when it comes to analytics.
No.
That's where the money's coming from now in baseball.
Yeah, it's coming from there in baseball, and it's that way in everything. Your profit and loss margin tell you something. When a guy batting 249 compared to 297 is trying to ask for $35 million more. This doesn't make any sense. And hopefully, I'm all for the fans, especially when they're being fleeced by some of the players. Even if you look at the NFL, as we jump a little bit to the NFL Big C, they're looking at kind of pulling back on their celebration rule, not allowing players to come off the bench and join in. I think the league just finished with some very high numbers. I know POTUS said that the ratings would be down because people standing for liberty and justice for all. But POTUS is wrong. That was fake news. Ratings were up. Why would the league want to tone back on what makes, players have a good time? And we're not trying to do a military statement, but they have a good time when you let people relax a little bit. People pay a lot of money to come see that. Why do they want to tone that back some, Big C? Your thoughts?
And, Jonathan, that's something I don't understand. Just 2 years ago when they enacted the celebration rule, allowing players to come out on the field and celebrate. Think about the offensive productivity that has gone up in the league, the scoring and everything.
Yeah.
And now you want to regulate the fun that the players are having in this most horrific of brutal games, Charlton, that you have to play as a professional athlete.
Yeah.
To have a moment where you can just let yourself go. And you think about these players orchestrate this thing, and they do it, Charlton, for the fans. They're entertaining the fans.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. For a long time, NFL stood for no fun league.
Yeah.
Now they brought the fun back. Now you got people sitting there saying, well, maybe it's going overboard.
Yeah.
Why? Because minority players have orchestrated most of the entertainment talking in the league.
Yeah.
You got to look. A lot of white players get involved in it also.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce is one of the guys that gets involved in on a regular basis in Kansas City because they score every time they
all the time.
Blow the whistle, seems like, in the game.
It seems like it, yeah.
The NFL has to understand, Charlton, this is about the fans. Stop sitting there being arcaded. Get some preparation if you're irritated on the backside. But let the players enjoy themselves after making a spectacular play.
Yeah. You Southern boys use a lot of preparation aids and what you say, Tums for upset stomachs, basically. That's some good names you're tossing out there. But speaking of who could also use a little bit of, some Tums for relief, Cowboys defensive end Randy Gregory. He's been suspended indefinitely from the league for his fourth substance abuse violation. Now, I just want to add this in at the same time. I don't know what this substance abuse is. We just talked about different things that are being legalized all over this country, Big C. Players being suspended for some time, those same things, I don't know. And then we even have, with that said, contrast a guy being suspended versus what happened with Kraft, because that's illegal in and out of the business. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this is Gregory's fourth suspension, Charlton. You got to realize his first failed test came at the Combine back in 2015. Cost him from being a first-round draft pick. He slipped to the second round with the Cowboys. And the Cowboys have been known as American teams for bandits, basically.
Yeah.
If you got a criminal past, you can get a job with the Cowboys. Any type of impropriety, Jerry Jones will sign you.
Yeah.
But, as you say, contrast that to Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, who's been charged with soliciting a prostitution, Charlton, down in Florida. And the worst part about that, Charlton, is that you did it on back-to-back days that they got you on tape. Now, the first time you went in, okay, you made a wrong turn into the wrong, you thought you were going into a restaurant, when you saw Asian Delight, all right?
Yeah.
You thought you were going in and get some Asian food.
Right.
Then you realize, well, okay, that when you went back the next day, though, Charlton.
Yeah.
Okay, and this ride was 30 minutes from your home. It wasn't like it was around the block,
Yeah.
Wasn't going to a drive-thru at McDonald's.
No.
You went 30 miles from your home, Charlton, to go to this destination.
Yeah.
This is premeditated.
Yeah.
And we understand the solicitation of sex, okay? But you hear, Charlton, you're facilitating human trafficking.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. You're aiding and abetting in human trafficking because you're supplying the money to those traffickers to keep that business going, Charlton.
Yeah, and I think
that's what you're doing.
Yeah,
we understand the solicitation part.
Yeah.
But here's a guy. You're worth billions of dollars, Charlton. You could order off the menu.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
You could have that delivery, what they got, Uber Eats or whatever it is nowadays,
is that what it's called, Uber Eats?
you can have it delivered to your house.
Yeah.
Why are you going to some seedy strip mall 30 miles from where you live?
And what
you have that delivered.
And what bothers me,
the thing about that's the most appalling about Robert Kraft in this scenario, Charlton, is that you're aiding and abetting sex trafficking of these women being brought into this country and kept in horrific conditions, Charlton.
Yeah.
You're okay with that. And people are going to sit there and I listen to the people on television now, Charlton, how softly they're speaking about Robert Kraft.
Yeah.
There's no anger, no vitriol in their voice, Charlton. It's almost like they're talking at a damn golf tournament.
Yeah.
You know, when they're talking about this incident.
Yeah.
They're saying, well, you know, because he doesn't have a past history, you know, they're going to bring all that in, and, you know, he may have 100 hours of community service and, you know, 3 months probation, and, you know, I mean, they're pleading his case on TV every day, Charles.
Yeah, and I've noticed
that. We don't hear that about a black player when he gets arrested for these incidents, okay?
Yep.
We don't hear that at all. We automatically get the 4-game suspension. But when you talk about what happened with your buddy Jim Irsay in Indianapolis 5 years ago, Charles, when he was caught with the Oxycontin and the cash in the front seat, and he was inebriated while he was driving.
Yeah.
He got a 6-month suspension.
6-month suspension.
And a $500,000 fine.
Yeah, and we've seen that happen.
Compared to what Robert Kraft was facilitating human trafficking, Charlton. And they keep keeping that part out of it.
Yeah.
He was aiding and abetting in human trafficking, Charlton.
Yeah.
That is very egregious. And I understand the man has a humanitarian heart and past, Charlton, that he's been. So did Jerry Richardson, who owned the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
We knew nothing negative about him until the sexual assault and misconduct allegations came out, Charlton.
Yeah, and this thing...
And I have a hard time believing it, Charlton.
Yeah.
That Robert Kraft only did this twice, okay? I have a hard time believing that you drove 30 miles from your house only twice, Charlton, since you've been down there in Jupiter, Florida, and has had this act. You know, you live in a billionaire gated community in Jupiter, Florida, Charlton.
Yeah.
How do you find your way 30 miles from home at a certain strip mall at the same time 2 consecutive days, Charlton?
MapQuest, Big C. It's called a GPS MapQuest, Big C. I still, every time I hear the apology for it, there are men who have daughters that are apologizing for Bob Kraft, but some of those same talk show hosts that I've heard, they were ready to ship Colin Kaepernick out of the country because he took a knee against, and part of that was to defend women who were caught in those situations. So the guy who tried to defend women who were put in that situation, there's many other ills in our society, he couldn't get a job. But the men helping perpetuate those businesses still working. I want to jump on Dallas.
And that's what Colin Kaepernick stood for. You know, as much as people want to hate Colin Kaepernick in this country, Charlton, understand what social injustice means.
Yeah.
Google it. Ask somebody if you don't know.
Yeah.
Social injustice. Human trafficking is social injustice, Charlton.
Yeah. Yeah. And
it's social injustice. Forcing these women into servitude, Charlton, is social injustice. Forcing them into prostitution.
Yeah.
It's social injustice. Colin Kaepernick had it right before anybody knew what Colin Kaepernick was doing.
Yeah.
Robert Kraft would not sign Colin Kaepernick.
Nope.
But he aided and abetted in the social injustice that Colin Kaepernick fought against, Charlton.
And there's a lot of pundits that were jumping on Colin, but they won't jump on Mr. Kraft. I want to run back down to Dallas in the final several minutes, Big C. What happened with the Cowboys? You know, Jason Garrett now, this is probably his final season for the Cowboys. It's been a long streak for the NFL head coach without a Super Bowl, 136 games. But there, like you mentioned before, Jerry Jones signs players that have a checkered past as long as they can play. But this doesn't help Garrett at all. Have another player suspended, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, Gregory got suspended. There's another defensive tackle that's a free agent who's going to get suspended also, Charlton.
Yeah.
So when you think about the Dallas Cowboys, you got to also look at the product that Jerry Jones gave Jason Garrett to work with, Charlton.
Yeah.
You know, Jason Garrett has been blamed for a lot of ills that have gone on in Dallas for the last 8 years, Charlton.
Yeah.
But look at the guy who was pulling the purse string.
Yeah.
You think about he finally made a decent move this last season, Charlton, when he brought in Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
What happened? The offense responded to it, Charlton, having a top-flight receiver.
Yeah.
Hadn't had one for 3 years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Struggled.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he gets a top-flight receiver, gives up a number one draft pick, 4 number one draft picks that can play. That's why I say you trade those guys who you think might come into the league and help versus the guy who's already in the league who knows how to play. And that's what Amari Cooper did when he came to Dallas.
Yep.
Jerry Jones, I mean, Jason Garrett always gets the brunt of the blame in Dallas, Charlton, but he doesn't hold press conferences.
No.
Jerry Jones does.
Yep, that's Jerry
Jones
that.
is not going to fire himself.
No.
And guys love to be head coaches in the NFL, Charlton, but look at the number of head coaches that Jerry Jones has had since he fired Jimmy Johnson, Charlton.
Yeah, he's had quite a big season.
He's had 7 head coaches since he fired Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah.
You know, Jason Garrett got into the playoffs this year, Charlton. Wade Phillips was the coach for him. Bill Parcells was the coach, Charlton.
Yeah.
You know,
Jimmy Johnson.
North Turner was a head coach down there. He had several others, Charlton.
Yeah.
But nobody's been productive because Jerry Jones, as Bill Parcells says, won't let them buy the groceries.
He won't let them buy the
groceries. You know what you need, but you're just sitting there and you're just waiting on who Jerry wants.
Yeah.
Not who you need, but who Jerry wants, Charlton.
Well, I want to talk about, in the last few minutes, too, I want to just pay homage to one of the great ambassadors of the sport. I still remember the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as Lou Alcindor for, UCLA and then also Milwaukee Bucks. I remember him being in a picture with Malcolm X and so many others, the great Muhammad Ali. They were fighting for social justice, doing things to help people. The great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he put up 4 championship rings for auction, and much of the proceeds are going to go to Skyhook Foundation charity. It helps benefits kids to learn about science and engineering and math. And those rings are from 1980, 85, 87, and 88. In an era when we focus too much on an athlete, how much money they make, we talk about some of the great black athletes that are giving back. Really proud of what Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has done. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlie, here's a man that's 71 years old, and, his legacy speaks for itself. NBA's all-time leading scorer, Charlie, just under 39,000 points, okay?
Yeah.
So he has 5 championship rings. Those 4 that he's putting on auction, the minimum bid for one of those rings, Charlton, is $60,000.
Yeah.
Now, you're thinking about having the greatest basketball iconic figure of all time, that you own a piece of the memorabilia that he helped create, Charlton.
Yeah.
And the benefits from these proceeds, Charlton, are going to go to benefit some young people, Charlton, that could aspire to be leaders of this country. Kareem is not broke by any means, Charlton. He's very well off financially. He has his pension plus other things that he's had over a 20-year NBA career.
Yeah.
So, but him wanting to benefit others, Charlton, he's lived a promised life for 71 years. But he knows that when he's gone, Charlton, there's nothing that he can do with these things.
Yeah.
So let them be with somebody who really wants them and cherishes them and legacy within this country.
Yeah. I know we had a little static on the microphone, Big C. We got it cleared out. But again, congratulations, the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Some of the top games of men's basketball tonight. Speaking of the great Kareem, what he did for UCLA. Tonight we have number 3 Duke at number 20 Virginia Tech. Akron is at number 21 Buffalo. Arkansas is at number 4 Kentucky. Syracuse, they're at number 5 North Carolina. That game was a big game. And then you have A&M, Texas A&M at number 13 LSU. A lot of good basketball being played tonight on the Tuesday, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, college basketball, and we're just a couple of days away from the real March Madness getting started, Charlton, where we'll see a lot of the bracketology starting to form of the conference championships, Charlton, as everybody's getting ready to that chase for the Final Four.
And we can't wait to see it. Really love the game of college basketball. When it gets around March Madness, that's when it gets exciting. Prior to that, you kind of don't know the players as much as you do with the NBA. On the women's side of the court, Big C, the top 5 rankings, number 1 Baylor, down in the state of Texas, followed by number 2 UConn, number 3 Louisville, number 4 Notre Dame, number 5 Mississippi State. The state of college basketball is great. The women tend to stay 4 years. The men tend to be a couple of years and done. But your thought on college, Baylor still doing their thing, and they're holding on to that number 1 spot, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when I look at 3 of the 5 top 5 teams in ladies basketball, 3 of them come from that southern region.
Yeah.
Well, when you're looking at Baylor, you're looking at Louisville, Charlton down there. It's been solid programs in Mississippi State.
Yeah.
All of those teams, Charlton, are within basically a 4-state region.
Yeah.
But it shows the dominance of lady basketball, Charlton, down in the South. We always know that UConn is always going to be a power up in the Northeast. Notre Dame has risen to those ranks last year's national champion, Charlton. But when you look at where Baylor has dominated the landscape this entire season,
yeah.
Louisville, they had some scandals on the men's side, but the women's program has uplifted that program, Charlton, into a top 5 ranking all season long. In Mississippi State, just what we saw down in Oxford, Mississippi, Charlton, the other night, 8 male basketball players taking a knee during the national anthem.
Yeah.
That now you're looking at Mississippi State, where the Lady Bulldogs, Charlton, are a powerhouse on the women's court.
Yep, that's the truth. And everybody knows it's all fair in love and war. So whether we're dealing with what's going on with Kraft, or whether some players are having situations, whether Harper doesn't realize that his batting average is a lot less, almost 40% is less than players who are signing for $260 million. And everybody has a right to pursue whatever you want. That's what I love about the sports business. That's what I love about this country. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, everybody's always talking about the GOAT. Last week, a 1997 Michael Jordan basketball card sold on eBay for $351,000. The most ever paid for a basketball card, Charlton.
Yeah.
But yesterday, Tom Brady's rookie card sold for an amazing $400,000, Charlton. The highest price ever paid for a football trading card, Charlton. So you think about that, in 2 successive weeks, in football and in basketball, they have set new records for baseball trading cards. Damn, I wish I had to put all those cards in the spokes of my bike when I was a kid.
Yeah, I'm sad that I threw away all those cards I have from Hank Aaron and Babe Ruth when I was a little kid, Big C. But I'm not sorry. Every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide, you can follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, we always want to tell you there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. As we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.